Mia looked at her reflection in the mirror with a grim expression and whispered, "An orphanage rat, that's what I am. But a rat has claws, sharp teeth, and I won't give up without a fight." Such a statement could only be explained by her past. She had grown up in an orphanage. For as long as she could remember, no one had ever shown any interest in her. She had seen dozens of children find homes with adoptive families, even though some had returned after failing to get along with those who adopted them. However, young Mia had an incredible aptitude for studying, and many teachers and caregivers often said, "She just needs a bit of affection. She's a very smart and pretty girl." Mia indeed had striking features, which often made other girls bully her. They would lock her in closets or throw a blanket over her head to beat her without interruptions. She never complained to the caregivers, preferring to resolve conflicts with her bullies on her own. When the other girls realized that messing with her wasn't a good idea, they left her alone. The day finally came when Mia, along with other orphan teenagers, was officially released into adulthood, and they were given the necessary documents to begin their independent lives. Mia had always been interested in numbers and calculations, so she chose to study applied mathematics and computer science at university. During the first 2 months she was provided with accommodation, but as soon as she started her studies, she realized she needed a job. Mia wasn't picky and asked to rent a room from an elderly woman who was looking for tenants. "Just make sure there's no mess in the room," the landlady said. The apartment was, as they say, run down, but that didn't stop the owner from demanding that her property be treated as if it were filled with museum exhibits. During the first 2 months while Mia was out, the landlady would often inspect the room meticulously, checking how Mia washed her sheets and ensuring there were no signs of cigarettes or alcohol. Finding nothing suspicious, the elderly woman would leave, examining the furniture for dust as she went. However, Mia never gave any reason to be scolded, and soon enough, the landlady warmed up to her. She even began inviting her to have dinner together. "I got a bit carried away cooking today. Come sit with me or all this food will go to waste," she would say. Mia found a job at a private clinic as a cleaner and diligently performed her duties. She would arrive early, wipe the floors, dust the surfaces, change the water in the dispensers, water the plants in the lobby and patient rooms, scrub the sinks and polish the mirrors until they shone. Mia managed to finish all her tasks before the administrators arrived, and everyone appreciated that she didn't get in their way during the workday, unlike the previous cleaner. Embarrassed by her simple clothes, Mia didn't go out with her classmates, and they soon stopped trying to include her. "She's just a bookworm, a dry personality. What's there to talk about with someone like that?" they would say. Mia spent her university years balancing study, work, and home life with no romantic or social distractions. She understood that she had nothing to offer materially, so she focused all her energy on achieving success. Her programming work was highly regarded, and several magazines approached her, asking her to write articles aimed at the general public. "We don't need it to be strictly scientific. We need you to explain the most complex things in simple terms, something even a child could understand. Can you do that?" they asked. Mia accepted the challenge and she succeeded. One of the most popular magazines with a readership of millions gave her a dedicated column where she wrote twice a month. Thanks to positive feedback from readers, Mia began earning decent money. She quit her job at the clinic and devoted all her time to intellectual work. At one conference, the head of the jury approached her and said with admiration, "I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. It's an honor for me." Mia was stunned. She wasn't used to hearing such praise. Later at a banquet, a stranger came up to her. "I heard your talk today and I was blown away. Forgive my boldness, but I just had to meet you. By the way, my name is James." Mia was at a loss for words. She wasn't accustomed to receiving such attention from men. Her new acquaintance gazed at her intensely, clearly enjoying the shy smile and the unease his compliments had caused. James began calling her often and would sometimes stop by after work to walk her home to her rented apartment. James was the only son of wealthy parents. He worked as a language instructor at a prestigious university and, under the influence of his father, was on the lookout for an intelligent wife. "Son, intellect is passed down through the mother's side. Don't be fooled by just a pretty face. You'll end up with kids who are neither smart nor attractive," his father would say. Both James and his family had already envisioned what his future wife should be like. Intelligence, good looks, and family connections topped the list. While Mia had no problems with the first two qualities, the third was an issue. James's mother quickly made her disapproval of Mia known. She would frown and purse her lips whenever Mia did something without consulting her first. It didn't matter what it was, the reaction was always the same. Why did you buy that tea? Yes, we drink it, but you should have asked me first. Or why did you change the sheets a day early? I wanted to dry my coat on the balcony today. But what infuriated James's mother the most was the fact that Mia often received calls from her colleagues, inviting her to different meetings and scientific roundtables. My God, it's as if they can't hold a meeting without her. His mother would scoff, rolling her eyes. If only they knew where she came from, nobody would want anything to do with her. James tried to pretend that nothing was wrong, acting as if everything was fine. However, as time passed, the tension between them grew, and he began to distance himself from Mia. The breaking point came when one day, James's mother reminded Mia of her upbringing in the orphanage and claimed she would never be able to properly raise a child. Mia, trying to maintain her composure, responded, "Maybe I grew up in an orphanage, but our son has grandparents. You've got such a close-knit family, and you've given me such a wonderful husband. Surely, you can help raise your grandson to be just as remarkable as his father." James's mother froze for a moment, then, after licking her lips, quietly but firmly said, "Don't kid yourself. We won't consider that bastard our grandchild. How do we know what kind of gutter or with whom you conceived him?" Mia turned pale with shock and then flushed red with fury. James, who overheard his mother's words, did absolutely nothing to defuse the situation. Instead, he retreated to the balcony, claiming he needed to close the window that had blown open. From there he shouted, "Mia, what are you standing there for? Why'd you open the window when the screen's torn? The mosquitoes will get in tonight." Mia stood motionless, staring blankly at James's mother, who was clearly enjoying her triumph. "You can't even think of these simple things yourself," the older woman sneered. "Where did my son find you? Do you live so comfortably in the trash that you're ashamed to show yourself to our relatives?" Mia had finally had enough. She wanted to hear her husband's opinion, though deep down she already knew what it would be. Soon after, James confirmed her suspicions by saying, "My mother never says things without a reason. You're the one to blame for not getting along with her. So, it doesn't bother you at all that she practically called me a street prostitute and refuses to recognize our child as her grandson?" Mia asked, trying to stay calm. "Why are you clinging to this?" James yelled. "That's her business. You just need to agree with everything she says and get on with your job." "Fine. I'll do my job. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce," Mia responded coldly. Her life in the orphanage had taught her not to complain and to make decisions quickly, no matter how difficult they might be. She knew it would be hard at first, but at least she would live in a peaceful environment where no one would walk all over her. This thought gave her strength and confidence, and the next day, without hesitation, she filed for divorce. After returning to James's parents' house, Mia packed all her belongings into a suitcase and called a taxi. She had already found a room to rent and paid the landlady in advance. James's mother kept a close eye on Mia as she packed, making sure she didn't take anything that didn't belong to her. Satisfied that Mia wasn't taking anything of hers, the older woman left the room without saying a word. James was at work, and Mia had to carry the heavy suitcase down the stairs and out to the street on her own. She had no intention of asking her former mother-in-law for help. When James returned home, he found his mother unusually pleased with herself. "Thank God that penniless orphan is finally gone. Don't worry, there are plenty of women out there. Someone like you will have them flocking in droves. You'll just have to choose," she said cheerfully. James shrugged and went to wash his hands. In truth, he never fully understood how he felt about Mia. He went to the registry office only to complete the formalities of the divorce. His mother, on the other hand, was overjoyed. What a relief. That gold digger won't be draining our money for her child's upkeep. It was already too much of a disgrace having to deal with someone like her, she said, gloating. James's mother then focused on finding him a new wife. To her, James was the pinnacle of perfection since childhood. "My son speaks 4 languages, is very domestic and calm, and can have high-level conversations," she would brag to acquaintances, painting an ideal picture of her son. But none of her friends rushed to introduce candidates. Everyone knew about James's mother's difficult character, and how she had spent her entire career using manipulation and flattery to rise to leadership positions. It deeply irritated her that Mia had remained silent after the divorce. In her mind, Mia should have returned, begging for forgiveness, asking for a second chance, and pledging loyalty to the entire family. But that didn't happen. After giving birth to her son, whom she named Samuel, Mia cut off all communication with James and his family. Over time, James began to hear rumors that his ex-wife was continuing to thrive in her writing career, managing to care for their child while simultaneously publishing articles for various magazines. One day, while taking a stroll in the park with his mother on a pleasant spring afternoon, James found himself face-to-face with Mia, who was pushing a stroller with their son, Samuel, peacefully sleeping inside. James's mother had been feeling unwell, so he had accompanied her instead of his father, who couldn't join due to his bad knee. His mother had demanded that James take her for a walk, and he complied, walking with a vacant expression, barely paying attention to his surroundings. Suddenly, they both heard a familiar voice. "Yes, I've almost finished the article. I'll send it by 7 p.m. today. Yes, everything exactly as you requested." "Great. Feel free to call if you need to discuss anything further. Same terms for payment?" "Perfect. Goodbye," said Mia, speaking into her phone while pushing the stroller ahead of her. James's mother furrowed her brow, glaring at Mia in disapproval. Mia was dressed impeccably, and the stroller was clearly of high quality, with sturdy wheels and a practical design. Samuel's face was hidden beneath a wide, foldable canopy, but his tiny feet could be seen, snug in soft leather booties. As a seasoned woman, James's mother quickly calculated the cost of both Mia's outfit and the stroller, concluding that Mia could not possibly have earned enough on her own. She must be with someone who's providing for her, thought James's mother with disdain. James had considered approaching Mia to see what their son looked like now, but under his mother's severe gaze, he stayed where he was. Mia passed them without so much as glancing in their direction, pretending to look for something in her bag. James watched in silence as Mia moved past, not turning back even once. His mother only let out a disapproving sniff. When Samuel turned too, Mia received an unexpected call from a stranger asking to meet her in person. In the meantime, James had secretly tried to contact her, without his mother's knowledge, but Mia had firmly rebuffed all of his attempts. "You didn't say a word when your mother declared that she wouldn't acknowledge Samuel as her grandchild, because she thought I conceived him with someone else. So forget about us. Go back under your mother's wing before she sends out search dogs to hunt you down." At first, Mia had been inclined to decline the meeting, suspecting it was just another ploy by James to try and force her into a conversation. However, the man on the other end of the line spoke with a slight foreign accent and was persistent. "Excuse me, Ms. Mia. I promise not to waste much of your time. I've traveled all the way from Hamburg. It's essential that I meet with you." Intrigued by his words, Mia agreed to the meeting, which the stranger had requested to be in a quiet place to avoid too much noise. 2 hours later, Mia walked into a secluded booth at a restaurant called Magnolia, and saw a man in his 60s who appeared surprisingly fit and youthful for his age. The man bowed politely to her and gestured for her to sit down. "My name is Klaus Bauer. I am the attorney for Mr. Friedrich Hoffmann. I have been entrusted with executing his last will, as specified in his will and testament." "Who is Friedrich Hoffmann?" Mia asked, surprised. She couldn't fathom what connection could possibly exist between a girl who grew up in an orphanage and some foreign millionaire. "If you'll allow me, I will tell you the full story," Klaus responded. Mr. Hoffmann in his youth frequently traveled to Russia, where he met a young woman named Anna Petrova at a party. She was a student at Moscow State University. They had a passionate relationship, which resulted in Anna becoming pregnant. When Mr. Hoffmann's father found out, he demanded that his son return home immediately and marry the daughter of his business partner. Anna was left alone, pregnant and without resources. She had to leave her studies and return to her small hometown. There, she gave birth to a girl, but sadly had to leave the child in an orphanage. Mia was listening in disbelief. "That's quite the story," she murmured. Klaus continued. "Anna tried to contact Mr. Hoffmann, but she was unsuccessful. The stress of the situation took a toll on her health, and eventually, she wrote a letter to the Austrian consulate, explaining the birth of her daughter and asking them to ensure her care. Unfortunately, Mr. Hoffman received the letter too late. Anna had already passed away. Although his marriage was unhappy, and his wife was unable to have children, Mr. Hoffman decided, after suffering a stroke, to draft a new will. In it, he left all of his wealth to his biological daughter. Mia, stunned, was momentarily speechless. What does this have to do with me? I grew up in an orphanage. I have no family, and I never did, she said. That's precisely what I'm getting at, Ms. Mia. You are Mr. Hoffman's daughter. This has been confirmed through letters and documents from the orphanage where your mother, Anna Petrova, left you, Klaus explained. Mia was completely taken aback and lost for words. Are you saying that this Mr. Hoffman is my father? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. Exactly. And you are his sole heir. It's been 3 months since the reading of the will, and you can now start the process of claiming your inheritance, Klaus continued, pulling out a thick folder filled with letters, documents, and proof. Mia flipped through everything in silence, barely able to believe what she was seeing. I can't believe it. I know it's true, but it's still so hard to accept, she finally said, still in shock. If you would like, I can start the procedure for you to inherit everything, Klaus said with a polite bow. I don't have much time. I'm scheduled to fly back to Austria tomorrow. 6 months later, Mia moved into her own apartment in a prestigious neighborhood, not far from where James, still considered a desirable bachelor, continued to live. After settling into her new apartment, Mia enjoyed her newfound independence. From time to time, she would run into James's mother in the neighborhood. Although they lived close by, Mia had no intention of rekindling any sort of relationship. James's mother, however, found it impossible to ignore the fact that Mia was living in such an expensive area. One day, James's mother couldn't contain her curiosity and approached Mia. I want to meet Samuel, she demanded, thinking that Mia's aloofness was just an act. Mia, calm and composed, responded firmly, no, you won't meet him. I don't want you near him. James's mother, taken aback, retorted, I don't understand why you're acting so distant. When you parade through here every day, rubbing it in our faces. I bought an apartment here because I like the area, Mia replied. There's a good preschool for my son and plenty of nearby conveniences. But you're right, I'll try to avoid being seen around you too much, just to prevent any unnecessary gossip. James's mother couldn't believe Mia's attitude and started spreading rumors among her acquaintances. I bet she didn't buy that apartment herself. How many men did she have to hook up with to afford something like that? She's probably just walking around our neighborhood to show off, she would say. But to her surprise, her listeners didn't agree. Did you know that your ex-daughter-in-law didn't just buy a random apartment? It's a luxury property, practically a palace. There are only 2 apartments per floor. And she even has a parking space in the underground garage. We heard she inherited a fortune from her father, who turned out to be some big shot from abroad. James's mother nearly jumped out of her seat when she heard this. That can't be true. What on earth is she going to do with that kind of money? She doesn't have the brains or the imagination for it. Meanwhile, James had started frequenting bars and nightclubs, looking for comfort in fleeting company. As long as he had money, he felt understood and loved, but when his funds ran out, he was promptly shown the door. After that, he would spend most of the day sleeping at home, trying to numb his growing frustration. One day, James's mother found him sitting in his room, staring blankly out of the window and muttering something under his breath. What are you doing sitting there like a mess? Go take a shower and bring Mia back. She's raising our blood, our flesh. How are you not understanding that? His mother snapped. James, without even looking at her, responded, Mom, are you feeling okay? Why all of a sudden do you want Mia back? You've never called her by her name before. His mother, caught off guard, quickly tried to backtrack. Can't I change my mind about someone? James smirked. No, you can't. Not without a good reason. So tell me, what do you want to get out of bringing Mia back? Finally, realizing there was no point in hiding it, his mother revealed the truth. She has money. You gave her a son, so she should be grateful and share that wealth with us. After all, we're her only family. Once again, following his mother's orders, James showed up at Mia's door. But she didn't even give him a chance to speak before shutting the door in his face. Back again because of your mom? Can't you make a decision without her involvement? She asked sarcastically. This time James answered seriously. I married you without her involvement. Mia let out a bitter laugh. And that's why she took revenge on us. Let's make this simple. You don't bother me anymore and I won't bother you. We've been divorced for a long time. You have no claims or rights toward me. Even in my toughest times I didn't take a single penny from you. And I raised Samuel on my own during the first year of his life without your help. So make your conclusions and leave me be. James left unsuccessful once again. From that day on he started drinking at home, bringing alcohol in secret and getting drunk while his parents were out. When his mother tried to scold him, his response was always the same. What did you expect? You brought this on yourself. Meanwhile, Mia decided to take her first trip abroad to see the house her father had left her in Austria. During that trip, she met an architect named Alex, who was 10 years older than her. He quickly bonded with young Samuel, and after 2 years of dating, Alex proposed to Mia. The couple celebrated their wedding with a lively, joyful ceremony, and Alex's parents were proud of their new daughter-in-law. She's such a rare find, intelligent, beautiful, and so kind-hearted. Alex is lucky to have met someone like Mia, they would say. Mia, for the first time in her life, experienced real genuine love. She had never told Alex about her inheritance until the very last moment. When she finally revealed it, Alex simply shrugged and said, "That doesn't matter to me. The important thing is that, thanks to him, I met you." And so Mia and Alex began their new life together with Samuel by their side, forming the family Mia had always dreamed of. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Write your thoughts about it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel Tell Me and share this video with your friends and loved ones. This motivates us to continue working on new stories every day. Do not miss the next amazing story that is about to appear on your screen. We are very grateful to you for being with us. In the description under this video you can open the catalog of all the stories. See you there.